Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. I would like to remind all of our viewers from home, if you do have any questions or concerns that you would like to contact the board members or our district at, you can reach us at clerk@fulton.cnyric.org. I will call this meeting to order. And can I have someone approve 1.02, the agenda? Move it. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. In the event of an emergency and we need to evacuate the building, there is an exit over here, door number 6. You can also exit out the library doors and go to either the right or the left and move away from the building as far as possible. Would you please join me to the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to move into our public forum. We have a couple of speakers this evening. Larry King, would you like to join us? Do you want to both come up at the same time, or did you?
Well, yeah, we're the same topic.
Okay. So we have Larry King and Trenton, is it Ferrans? Ferrans?
Yeah. I'll go first. We're just curious on where we're heading with our varsity ice hockey team. You all probably know that we graciously accepted Liverpool as a merger, and I'm not going to sit up here and tell fairy tales. They plain out lied to us, all right, on the numbers that they had returning. They lied to us about who they were going to, the word was that they weren't going to cut anybody that was on the team last year. 6 players got cut. They said that they had 7 or 8 kids returning, when in fact they had, I think, 13 to 17 kids, my numbers aren't accurate, from Liverpool that tried out for the team. They kept 10, okay? I would like to see it back to the way it was with Central Square and Phoenix, and I don't know if that's, the right way to do things to, dictate what schools we use, but it was fine the way it was working. I do know that we have at least 28 kids coming in that will be, that are hockey players. That's not counting the returning players. Them are just Fulton kids, okay? I don't want to eliminate Hannibal because or Phoenix, or Central Square, because those kids play youth hockey in Fulton, all right? I can go on and on all night, okay? I think that the way things were handled, the coaches were fully involved, and they came in and took right over. Liverpool literally took our whole program over. I knew that someday that our name would change to, because y'all know it was going to be the Salt City Fusion. Well, that lasted all of an hour, we're not Salt City, okay? So it went to CNY Fusion. I accept that. What I really wanted to start out saying is I was on the original high school hockey team, 1979. I was one of the originals, okay? And I've been part of Fulton Youth Hockey since 1975. First year the rink opened up. So I've been over there as a coach, player, referee, board member. I would like to see it go back to the way it was. I'm all about the kids, but we don't need Liverpool. And if Central Square threatens to leave, then they can leave. All right, because I know Phoenix would like to stay. I know Hannibal would like to stay. And we kind of need them, okay? A lot of those 28 kids are really young, okay? But we don't get rid of any other program because we have losing records, okay? We're going to be fine in the future. Like I said, I can stand up here all night and preach, okay? But I would like to see that program come back to us, having control over it. And I know Trent's got a lot more, so I'll let him go.
Basically, I've been on the team for 3 years now, and I just want to know why someone was a good idea to bring in Liverpool. because we already have 23 kids that are gonna try out in the future. So it just takes away their opportunity to play hockey at a high school level. It's supposed to be like a full sport, but it's more like a vertical sport now. It's kind of frustrating.
The only thing I want to add in there is I do not blame Mr. Ellis. Really treated me very well over the, you guys all know that I coached baseball and I was, assistant coach on the varsity team for a handful of years. He was also lied to, and I know that for a fact because I specifically talked to our president coach. All right, so I know what was said, okay? And I don't blame him at all. He blamed himself, I know he does, but I don't blame him. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Good? All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Action 1.06, can somebody move the minutes from the January 23rd meeting? Move it. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining?
Abstain.
Passes 5-0-1. Take a look at your president report meetings that are coming up. We have our regular board meetings coming up for February and March. A couple of health and safety meetings that are coming. Remember that we may still have the tentative.
Wait, was that supposed to be, I'm sorry, January 23rd, or should it have been February 6th?
January 23rd.
Don't we approve the minutes from the,
We didn't have a meeting on the 6th. That was
This is our last meeting, was the 23rd.
our last meeting.
It's been 3 weeks.
okay,
It's one of those times.
There was a long time.
okay, forget me.
Yep.
Are you still staying abstained?
No, I approve, I was.
Okay. Passes 6-0-0.
And I believe the March 5th is no longer tentative. I think we agreed that we were going to do it at the last meeting.
Okay, so we're gonna change that to, we're definitely on for the next budget meeting for March 5th. 5:30 is what we talked about, does that seem to work well? Does that work for everybody,
That allowed, a
5:30?
couple board members indicated 5:15 was just a few minutes earlier than they could
Okay.
get comfortably here.
Yep,
And you'll send us out a notice, right, Pete?
Yes. You got that, Jane? Send a notice out. Tim just asked that we have a notice for the 5:30 on March 5th for the budget workshop, that it's not tentative anymore, that it's going to be in place. I think we're going to need that, Dr. Lacy. I think that's, yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to say it was tentative anymore.
any other questions or conflicts with any of those meetings, just let me know. Okay, with that, we are going to turn it over to the superintendent for his reports.
Good evening, everyone. It's hard to believe we're already in the first meeting in February. We got break next week, and then we're back with our second meeting. So we have 4 days of school in between our 2 meetings. I was thinking about that the other day. So anyway, it's going to be here quicker than we know it. So this evening, we're going to be highlighting our capital improvement projects updates, specifically around 2023. Mike James from King & King is here for this evening. We'll put up the presentation. Also should be in your on your computers as well. Mr. James.
Thank you. Good evening. As many of you know, there are multiple capital projects occurring within the district all at the same time. Outlay projects, ARP projects, and in previous phases. But as Mr. Palvino said, I'm here primarily to talk about the recently approved $20 million 2023 capital project. In total, there are 4 phases. I'm here tonight really to talk about the first 2 phases, and we have a number of images. So we'll show you some of the progress that we've been making. And feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions about any portion of this. The previous slide. Now, we've broken up the first few projects into phase 1A, 1B, and 2. 1A is the G. Ray Bodley Gymnasium renovations, and I'll show you a few slides in a moment of that. Phase 1B is at Fairgrave Elementary, where we are reconstructing the main entry stairs at the site and improving some windows throughout the building. Phase 2 is impacts 3 buildings, G. Ray Bodley High School, Fairgrave, and Granby. And I'll have a few images of each of these to share with you. So, and the next slide pertains to the Phase 1A, which is the high school gymnasium, where we are refinishing the hardwood floors, replacing the game lines and wall base. We are painting the entire interior, including the roof structure, the ceiling, and the walls. We're installing new motorized bleachers that incorporate the railings and aisles for the occupants. New scoreboards on both ends, with one scoreboard including the player statistics for both volleyball and basketball, which is a nice addition. Shot clocks, new glass backboards all around with LED lights on the main court backboards, and wall safety pads with new custom graphics for the gymnasium, and electrical upgrades including a new sound system. Now, the district's really recently invested in the head end of the sound system, but we're told you only have one functioning speaker in the gym. So it's a complete rework of the sound system in the gym. What's not listed there, but is also included in the project, we are replacing the gymnasium doors, which have been replaced previously, but they're just not holding up well. So new doors and new hardware.
At all the entry doors.
All around the gym. Yep. I wanted to point out that the graphics we show are for submission to SED. We made some assumptions. As a matter of fact, we had multiple versions of the interior painted in different schemes, multiple colors, some had green. We also included graphics. When the Red Dragon changed, we pulled those graphics. So before going to bid, and once the district determines what that image will look like, we'll incorporate that on the floor and most likely on the walls. So we've been working with Mr. Murray, Mr. Ellis, and the district administration to make sure that what we're planning here meets the district's needs. So we appreciate all that input from everyone.
Mike, just one question. The light part of the floor, is that new wood or is that paint?
That is just refinished and stained. We're not replacing the floor,
Oh, okay.
but we will take it down to bare wood, and we have the opportunity to add stain to the keys or the free throw lines.
Thank you.
It was a good catch. Yes, it's going to be two-tone and all stain.
Are we gonna put the alma mater back up on the wall?
We can put that up on the wall. That's really, there's a couple different ways. I like that. We can either paint it up, or we could do what we did before, was we could do the banners, which also is a really powerful way to, flexible way. So either way, if it's taken care, if it's addressed by then, yes. If not, I would say we could do the banners like we did before, similar type of concept. The answer is yes, we can post them.
So before we finish this and go to bid, we'll have multiple meetings with the team to make sure the graphics are right, they're in the right place, the text is correct.
Yeah, and we'll share those with the board as we go along, because that'll be more of a larger piece, especially for painting those on the walls.
In phase 1B, at Fairgrave, I mentioned that we were replacing the concrete stairs, which have been a long-standing issue for the district, just because of how they're originally constructed and how much salt is necessary to keep the stairs safe. So the concrete walls will remain. We'll completely remove the concrete stairs, rebuild those, there'll be new railings, and partially replace the sidewalks as needed around the stair. Strange thing about SED, you can't just do a site project. You have to have work in the building that occurs at the same time. Oddly enough, the number is $10,000. You have to spend $10,000 on the building. One of the scope items that came out of our survey with the district was the need to address the windows at Fairgrave. Not all of the windows, but the majority of the aluminum windows are the double hung type. So the bottom sash lifts while the upper sash drops. They are now very heavy because of the hardware, the original hardware of these windows. It's common, I've been in multiple projects where we'll go in, replace the hardware in kind, we'll actually fix the upper sash in place so it doesn't drop any longer. and we'll lubricate and clean, so this might be safer and easier for your staff to handle. So that's the building portion of that phase. Phase 1A and 1B are both complete already, and those are at SED waiting review.
And what's the review length right now?
It's a great question. When we submitted this, I believe it was 14 to 16 weeks, and we went in late December. It's now 26 weeks at SED. So we're working with the administration and working with the Chase, watching that review time stretch, which is out of our control, completely. Unfortunately, SED is reviewing about 20 projects a week. Right now, we watch their burn rate to see how it's really affecting the entire state. All of our projects are being affected. So we'll continue to watch that and stay in close contact with the team of the Chase and Brian to see how we can address the bidding phase and how much work we can accomplish. So 26 weeks and counting. They'll update that tomorrow. We'll look again and see if it's improved or not. We're going to jump to phase 2. There's quite a bit of scope in phase 2, and one of my last slides will go through the entire scope. But one of the exciting things is the renovation of the G. Ray Bodley toilet rooms, the original toilet rooms. You'll remember that there are 2 toilet rooms on each floor. And they're stacked. We are renovating them, all 4 of them. And it's a complete renovation. So in each toilet room will be new floor finishes and wall finishes, new plumbing fixtures and plumbing services throughout. We'll create code-compliant ADA toilet compartments. Will be new full-height stud wall partitions in between each toilet. Unlike what we're all used to, where the metal or plastic stalls that stop before the floor and don't run to the ceiling. Really, almost all the districts in the state are moving to this solution where we will build full-height partitions, a true wall, separating stall to stall. We'll install a conventional door that stops just short of the floor and then stops just short of the door. So there's increased privacy and frankly security. You can see from the original toilet rooms that are there.
And there's privacy guards on the side, so you can't look in the crack. You can see who's in there. That'll all be closed.
No cracks. So that's a full renovation of those sides. We have an advantage at the high school of being able to accommodate an additional toilet room off of the corridor. So you'll see in the plan the 2 long toilet rooms, but there's a door and a small gender-neutral room to give your students that one alternative. If they didn't want to go in either side, they have yet another option to go into a private room off the corridor.
That was a former janitor closet, so we got creative and used to that space.
I'm confused because what's the difference between the 2 sides?
You want to explain the urinals?
Yeah, so on your plan,
Oh, those are
the
urinals,
room
I
on
think there
the
were
right
6.
is boys, and those rooms have urinals, so fewer stalls.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that was in discussions with Mr. Murray, and some districts are doing away with the urinals. We chose to include them, and that was his recommendation as well.
And both rooms have one handicap accessible
In the back.
in the back. That's what the bigger.
Yeah, the 2 in the front, at the top of the screen.
In addition to the one off the corridor, which is fully accessible.
Right.
A few small things where there'll be new cross-corridor doors. The doors that are out in the corridor will be brand new because we had to relocate them a little bit. And because the toilet rooms are stacked floor to floor, it's all new plumbing, top to bottom. So we won't be reusing any existing plumbing. This next image is also phase 2, but it's a Fairgrave in their toilet rooms. Unlike the high school, these toilet rooms are kind of made at a 90-degree angle. The original toilet rooms, they also have never been renovated. And this will be, like the high school, a full renovation. So new floor and wall finishes, fixtures and surfaces. They'll also have ADA compliant stalls toward the rear of the room. But unlike the high school, because we don't have quite as much room, and after talking to Mrs. Pietrocola, she actually preferred the more conventional stalls rather than the full height walls. But we will be using a newer version of those so they run closer to the floor to kind of impede elementary kids from crawling under stalls. And there'll also be higher doors, and they'll eliminate the crack in between the doors and the stalls. It's a small thing, but we hear it quite often with younger students. They just don't want anybody being able to peek into that stall. So it's a nice feature. Additionally, one thing that you, sure, go ahead.
Right. So on the boys' side, the boys on the right,
On the right, yes.
where the other picture had a toilet and a urinal. There's no urinal here?
That's right, and again, this was a discussion with the principal. She preferred not to have the urinal. She suggested that age group are more comfortable using the water closets or toilets, which of course that's what they have at home. One feature that they really did like at Fairgrave was we moved the sink or lavatory right in front of the door, so it's a rectangular shape that you'll see in both toilet rooms and at the high school. We'll be holding the doors open and they've got it held open, which means that there's more supervision into the space. And at the elementary level in particular, the staff or anyone who's in the corridor can see the students washing their hands at the sink and direct them out of the space. Which I'm told that's where a lot of the shenanigans happen at the sink. So I think that was a good choice. She's very happy about it. Again, rebuilt the chase throughout, and that'll all be coming.
What's
This
this
next one is-
what's elevator modernization?
So that will occur a couple of times in this project before we're done. At G. Ray Bodley, you have the existing elevator, but the control system is so out of date that they have trouble programming it. So we will have a specialized vendor been on the project who will come in and update the buttons to meet ADA, update the control system so it's current, and that it shouldn't be much trouble for the district moving forward. I think this elevator in particular, the district has had trouble servicing it just because of the age. So it's not a full replacement of the car. That would be several $100,000, but I think this is about $90,000 of improvements to what you have.
More like electrical and,
Electrical, yeah,
okay.
just components. So other items in phase 2 at G. Ray Bodley, we've touched on the toilet rooms. The auditorium is receiving new sound and lighting improvements, including a new rooftop unit for mechanical systems. Boys' toilet room at G. Ray Bodley, the boys' teen room, off the lockers, the ceiling is really damaged, and the district has patched it over the years, but we'll be removing that completely and replacing it with a much more durable product. We can't remove it completely because there's so much mechanical, electrical work above the ceiling, but we can protect it. Improved system. There's some structural improvements that we're going to make in one particular area of the high school that we discovered about a year and a half ago that made the list in mechanical upgrades. That includes replacing 4 non-functioning gravity vents up on the roof. Other scope at
If you recall the mold, just to go back to the mold situation that we had, or the smell that we had at the high school when we toured the buildings in the fall. We showed you there was some original joint work that was the part of the problem, so that'll be repaired in this work.
That's right, and it goes back to the original construction where they didn't tie the masonry back to the steel, so we'll have to open that up, make those corrections, and then we'll close it back up. In addition, the last 2 items listed would be main entrance security improvements. What that is, you currently have the greeting station at the high school, but you have to enter the vestibule, go through the second set of doors before you can get to that greeter. And this is, again, a movement throughout the state. What we're planning to do is expand that greeter station into the classroom that's adjacent to the entrance and move the interior set of vestibule doors further into the high school so that we can have a secure window like a ballistic window in the vestibule, and then put the interior set of doors on new hardware so that you had pretty much a lockdown area. So that person can take credentials and confirm that they want the visitor to enter the building. You know, that's something that's happening in most
And
offices.
then allows them to go to the second set of doors.
It also allows us to improve some finishes in that particular area, more school themed, and increase the walk-off mat. So we might be able to take up some of those carpets that are taped down, replace the walk-off mat so people clean their feet on their way into the building.
Yeah, how far in will the second set of doors be? And you're going to move, if I'm understanding, you're gonna move the window into the vestibule?
We're going to add a window.
Okay,
We're going to leave that window where it is, but the doors will move, I'm going to say it's 5 or 6 feet.
okay. So they won't affect, second window won't be affected by the vestibule?
No, we think there's an advantage there. People can walk up to the window like they do now and speak to that person, but we'll have an additional window with a shutter in the vestibule for that secure entrance.
Thank you.
Well, one item here, parking lot and loading dock reconstruction, I wanted to expand on a little bit because there's quite a bit of work there that is worth mentioning. The north parking lot at the school is going to be replaced, rebuilt, including the gravel lot that I think you referred to as the student lot on the other side of the trees. That will help you work, and I believe that the tree island will be removed. So it's just one large lot. In addition to the south parking lot, I'll refer to it as the cafeteria tennis court lot, will be reconstructed. There's a section of parking back by the loading dock that we didn't quite get to when we did the turning circle. We stopped because of budget reasons. So this time we'll go back in and complete that asphalt work. In the southeast parking lot, which is a student lot, I'll say it's the athletic lot on the other side of the tennis courts. That's also being reworked. So a significant amount of site work. That, in addition to what you've already done, puts you in really good shape at that particular building. Any questions about the key remodeling before I move on? The Fairgraves, we've touched on the toilet rooms. There's classroom ventilation upgrades. And I'll describe that this way, is that years ago at some point, ceilings were added and the ceilings were lower than the original ceilings. And the ventilation for each classrooms were now above that ceiling level. So the classrooms are not being ventilated the way they should be. So as part of this project, we're adding some ductwork at each one of those classrooms to move the air appropriately. And like the high school, there's a small room at Fairgrave with an original plaster ceiling that's failed due to some plumbing leaks above. It's just storage space, but it really warrants removal just for safety reasons. There's main entrance security improvements at Fairgrave. That's already kind of a nice situation, the way the door opens up into the main office, but we're going to improve the hardware and access control on the vestibule doors, the interior vestibule. And then at the staff's request, we're going to add controls to that single door into the main office. Right now, the staff will need to get up, go over, open that door, let someone in. Not ideal, so it's an easy hardware change for us. So all they'll have to do is if they buzz someone in the vestibule, they can buzz them through that door. There's a couple of pumps, pump number 1 and 2, that will be replaced as part of the hot water system. There's exhaust fan replacement, that's building wide. Again, those are non-functioning, so we'll replace those, tie those into the DDC system. And item that came up recently was we have 2 boilers that date back to 1991. And your maintenance and facilities people reached out maybe a month ago and said that the boiler was leaking severely. And it's been patched in the past. We're trying to keep it operating for the time being, but we displaced some scope and added that as a high priority for the district. So the boiler, and that's probably about $300,000, will be replaced at Granby. That's 1 of 2. So somewhere down the line, you'll want to talk about it. I think that's a good boiler. I jumped over pool system upgrades. The pool will receive replacement of the 3 gate valves over the main valves that service the pool, a new balancing tank, a new pool filtration system, which has been an ongoing issue for the district, door replacement, interior and exterior, and then replacement of the tower showers that are in the pool locker rooms. Those are leaking, again, something the district's we're trying to make do until we can get to this project, but those will be a full replacement. And then it's not listed here, and it should have been, there's one scope item, again, significant one, is site work. We have bid twice now the site work at Granby, and because of budget issues, we weren't able to accept it either times. But now it's being packaged into phase 2, and that is the drives, parking, walks, and curbs on the west side of the building, which I think of as kind of the main entrance side. It's the main office side of the building. We are also adding parking on the east side to the bus loop, and I think it's about 21 spaces, just to alleviate some of that overcrowding that the staff experiences. So these, you'll recognize these are all pretty much high priority items. When we started determining the scope here, everything was a high priority. These came through as the highest priorities. And the reason why these buildings are going first is we felt like the scope of the other buildings, though important, could wait a little bit longer. Things like the boiler, the windows, the stairs were just accidents waiting to happen. Next steps for everyone, as I mentioned, we've submitted to SED for phase 1A and 1B. And if we're fortunate, we'll hear back from SED in early May. If not, we'll adjust accordingly. Phase 2, those documents are in progress, and we're planning an April 15th submission to SED. And I suspect as we move forward, I'll come back, we'll do something similar for the future phase 3 and 4. So, any questions?
I'm trying to picture the Fairgrave security area and the Granby security area. As many times as I've been in Fairgrave, is the door to the office between the two sets of doors?
It is currently.
And then Granby, that they have the same situation of.
Unfortunately, it's more of a traditional vestibule, and then you walk around the corner to get into the door of the main office. Several projects ago, we actually looked at renovating that main office, well, just before COVID, actually. And so that we pulled back on that scope. But what we can do here is create a secure vestibule so they can keep someone in there if they need to temporarily.
So there won't be a window in that.
Not a window there. Just how the main office is configured is a little challenging there. Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike, and your team.
Sure.
So logo mascot update. So do we have, that's what I'm showing next. Is that right on the agenda?
Yes.
Dr. Lisi's chomping at the bit to go over budget. Look at him. Got it already up there. Wait. So I just want to, a couple things. Notes here, my book just popped over on me. I apologize. So I wanted to just thank all of the students, the entire community that have been involved in the process that's been going on for well over a year, going on actually 15 months now. And just the input that it started with in the spring of this past spring in 23, all of the students who submitted 86 drawings, the kids who helped the culture kids who put it down, the numerous surveys and all the opportunities for feedback, and then in this last rendition, and you know, they're working so closely and watching the 4 kids after the feedback that we had received. They came back to the drawing table with, Mr. DiGiorno was there, and we worked closely. The students worked very closely, student artists worked very closely with the City BOCES team and the graphic artist there and on their team. And this evening I'd like to share that rendition with you and for your consideration. And thank you to all for all the feedback. It took us a while, but I think what it did was slow and steady. I think may have produced us what we really need here in Fulton. So with that, looks like we have the technology just about ready to go here.
Okay.
Okay.
Dr. Lisi, if you could share, please.
In the fall of 2022, a New York State mandate prompted Fulton City Schools to begin our journey for a new mascot and logo. Over the next year and a half, district personnel, students, and community members would come together to create a new identity that would respect our well-rooted traditions while ushering in a new era of school pride. Community and school surveys sought frequent feedback and gained thousands of responses. Students and community members were looking for something unique, but not obscure, that honored and protected historical colors and traditions and reflected and respected the entire student body. The final logo design needed to be student-led and reflect the values of the district itself: respect, grit, kindness, integrity, strength, perseverance, and focus. Change isn't always easy, but the Fulton City School District rose to the challenge. On newfound wings, our Fulton students are ready to embrace a new era and a new identity with the focus and strength to face any challenge. So now, we're ready to officially welcome the Fulton Red Dragons. This new logo, created by Fulton students, represents our community's values. The dragon shows strength, grit, and perseverance as it wraps itself around the traditional Fulton F, representing our continued respect for the past, but optimism for what is to come. Its eyes retain the necessary focus, yet it stands ready to defend all Fulton students with kindness and integrity. Since the beginning of this year, our students have been embracing their role as the first generation of Red Dragons. From the court to the classroom, exciting new traditions are beginning to weave their way into the already rich culture of Fulton schools. We thank our community for their support throughout this sometimes difficult process and look forward to a future where all our students can soar. Welcome to the Fulton City School District, the proud home of the Fulton Red Dragons.
So I don't know if there's any comments, but I think City Boss did a nice job pulling that together, really typified, kind of pulling a 14-month process into 2.5 minutes. Obviously, the next steps will be roll out to our students if after this evening, if ratified. And then we know we have some celebrations planned this week as far as that were already existing, assemblies, things like that. And then we'll build on those after the break with our elementary schools as well. And then we'll continue throughout the course of the spring, building to ensure that everybody in our community has the opportunity to view and experience and be a part of who we are now and into the future. So, with that, are there any questions or discussion?
For the update.
The third item this evening, thank you, is the budget update. Dr. Lisi.
Thank you, Mr. Colvino. So just to provide you with an update of where we are with the budget process, I'll just start with, we do this every year. The budget development process and the work that we do is always guided by the parameters that are set forth for the district. And the foundation of those is certainly our mission and our vision. Our core beliefs and values are certainly important in that process, and our guiding principles. I'm sure we're familiar with those, and they're available to share if need be. In addition to that, the work continues in our strategic coherence plan. That's a continuing process for us, and I think it's important to point out within the strategic coherence plan and process, there are 6 elements that we continue to focus on and will continue to do so. Leadership, literacy, instruction, social emotional developmental health, family engagement, and innovation. We've continued that work, and we're beginning the next iteration of that process with our vision for the next strategic coherence plan. And I just want to share with you very quickly a model for what that looks like. What we wanted to do is not simplify, but really focus and target in on what's in the center of this model, which is learning, wellness, and life pathways. That is our focus. That's what we're here to do. We're the center of learning for the community, and we want to live that and be that. So in addition to that, I'll have Ms. Geithner share her insights regarding the model as well.
So going back to what Dr. Lisi said about learning being at the center and helping our students develop into healthy, successful adults as they transition away from our schools and into the world, we really need to create the systems and structures that support those learning activities and wellness activities. And prior to that, make sure the foundation is a positive and healthy culture where learning can occur and people can feel safe and like they belong, going back to our value statements of you belong here and safe to speak up here, and what we do is important. So for our strategic coherence plan, which is under construction currently, the one that will begin in 2024 and carry us through 2029, we've identified 4 major outcome areas that fall into that culture, systems and structures, and learning wellness and life pathways model. The first one being school experiences are relevant, engaging, and foster a sense of belonging and purpose for every student, that every student is engaged and well prepared for their future, and that every member of the school community feels safe and valued as essential partners in this process. And finally, that our district is innovative, proactive, and accountable to our systems. We've aligned a lot of this work around the newly released Portrait of a Graduate from New York State Department of Education and the outcomes for our students, which are to be critical thinkers, innovative problem solvers, have literacy skills across the content areas. They've developed cultural, social, emotional, and global citizenship, and that they are effective communicators.
Thank you, Mrs. Geithner. Just some considerations as we move into the budget season, some things I'd like to share with the community as a whole. Keep these in mind as we have this discussion. First of all, our federal stimulus grants, which we've benefited from for the past several years, are coming to an end. So there are some remaining parts of those that we'll use in the beginning of the next budget year, but they'll be effectively ending. We did move a number of positions from our grants to our general fund, and other expenses that are covered by the grants would certainly not be available to us once they're done. Our state aid did fall short in terms of economic trends that we're all feeling, and those impacts continue. Certainly, when we talk about inflation is compounded. So we all know, this is a common story that we've all had to deal with the past several years, that inflation has consistently risen. Just because it may be leveling off, or we see a trend where it's lower, the rate is lower than what we're used to, that doesn't mean that the impact hasn't compounded over time. That's important for folks to realize. The cost of educating our students has certainly increased, particularly over the past 3 to 5 years. We all know that. We're dealing still with COVID outcomes, learning loss, SEL factors, and so on. And I wanted to point this out also, and I guess give it its own line. The idea of safety and security is a costly endeavor, but one that we would all agree needs to continue. So we've worked a lot in those areas to add to our safety and security work that we've done in the district, and we'll continue to do so. There's also unanticipated costs. In particular, unanticipated or anticipated, our healthcare costs have gone up, and we anticipate that they'll continue to do so. Our maintenance and repairs certainly have gone up. I want to thank Mr. James for being here this evening to talk about some of the work that we're doing here. It's great that we're doing that work, but I just wanted you to recall that when we did our building condition survey originally, they identified close to $20 to $40 million in needs, not just wants. So we're doing what we can with our capital project work, but there's so much more to do. In the meantime, our teams are doing a phenomenal job keeping things running. Our buildings are older and we're starting to feel it. So I think that's important to point out. And we still have, of course, illness and so on, so we're dealing with attendance and the absences and so on. That's costly in the long run. I want to give you an overview of our projected revenues. So our tax levy, if it remains the same, is $22,045,571. Our state aid, again, it's a little higher than what we anticipated, but obviously not what we need in total. Our foundation aid increased by about 4%, increased by about $1.7 million. And of course, you can see the other aid lines there, transportation aid and so on. Miscellaneous, it's approximately the same as it was in this current year, at about 1.3 million. And the total revenues that we anticipate, and this is a fairly preliminary figure, I don't anticipate this changing too much, is $86,336,195. This does not include our pre-K figure, but our total aid increase from 23 to 24 from this current year to next year is approximately 7%. Our preliminary budget figures, and again, this is preliminary. The team's done a great deal of work in this area to come up with what we feel is an appropriate preliminary budget figure. These are broken down into the three areas: administrative, capital, and program. Apologize, you can't see that quite up there, but I'll give that total to you anyway. The total itself for the preliminary budget is $89,608,061. In the three areas, the increases are relative to what they were this year in terms of how they break out. Obviously, the program area is the largest at 73.5%, administrative at 11.1%, and capital at 15.4% in the three areas.
Dr. Lisi?
Yes.
Just have a question. With administrative, is that including teachers?
No, that's program.
That's a program there.
And if you look at the rollover budget, our total general fund budget this year is $84,155,000. That's the 23-24 school year, the one we're presently in. And you can see the rollover budget there, $89,608,061. And you can see the comparative analysis between our anticipated revenues and our budget, our preliminary budget. So we're currently looking at a deficit of approximately 3.2 million, but I want to point out on the right, this does not include some of the work that we still need to do using our remaining federal grants. That's important. Whatever reserves we intend to use, any additional budget refinements, which we still have work to do in those areas, our tax cap, which I'll share with you shortly, and any miscellaneous grants or additional revenues that may come in over the next several months. Our tax cap, we recalculated this today because we did have a rollover, and the rollovers, our carryover, actually is due to the fact that we have not introduced a tax levy in the past 2 years. So there's a carryover associated with that increased our tax cap for the 24-25 school year to 5.57%. And what that looks like in dollars is $1,228,164. Now that's the absolute cap that we could ask our voters to consider.
Without a supermajority.
Correct.
Do you know what that looks like per household?
Not yet. No, but I'll be sharing that with you.
Okay.
We're still short though.
Oh, yes. Correct.
So it's about 1.7, we think, is what the only would be that we need to look at. And that's right now. This is everything in the budget that we currently have right now rolled in. So this is not taking anything out. It's taking into consideration, I think you did take into consideration some of the healthcare costs. That's built in a little bit heavier than where, because it's definitely going in that direction, unfortunately. That seems to be the national and state trends, meeting with our third-party broker and going through that. So unfortunately, that seems to be the trend. So these are, this is rolling everything forward, and as Dr. Lisi pointed out on the right-hand column, maximizing all of the grants, all those other lines that we have that we can pull in. So that 3.3 pulls down to around 1.7. That doesn't take into consideration any additional tax caps, things like that. So we'll also look at, attrition. We look at retirements, resignations, all those kinds of things. We have to fill those positions. Those are all the things that we will look at. And we also have, I believe, a contractor too. And we're talking, Mark was sitting there a second ago. And we have a contractor we're in the process of negotiating as well for our custodian, I believe it is correct. So there's some things in there, obviously. And then the other piece is, we've been meeting with our local politicians. Thank you to Mr. Dijuarm, who went and advocated at Albany at Lobby Day last week. On Saturday, I had the opportunity to sit on the Central New York School Boards Association, and as being the only superintendent present, I was able to get the ear of the Senator's office, Senator Walczyk, as well as Assemblyman Barclay's office, his representative as well. And so it was a great opportunity to one, educate them as well as to express what those needs are. And I made it very clear that even though, about half the districts in the state didn't get their safe harmless, we're on the other side of that. But if you close the gap for the safe harmless, if that happens, you also need to recognize the fact that all the small cities and the districts that did get a gain also need to benefit from that as well. So, because that's one of the reasons why there's been a lot of campaigns for fiscal equity over the years. And for the Fulton district, for us, that's over 20 years of being underfunded. And I believe that number is somewhere in the neighborhood of $120 to $140 million that we didn't receive over that time. So I think those are the kinds of things, and that was part of the message that I was sending there. And I know that I've been sharing with you as a board all of the NISBA, NISCUS, rural schools, and small cities pieces as well. So there's a lot of advocacy going on. There's a lot of positivity around that. If we were fully funded in this, we were about 112,000 short. But when you look at what we've got in the last couple of years and the needs that we have, and the fact that this formula did not, it used a 10-year, taking out the highest and lowest consumer price index. You take out an 8 and you take out a 0, all of a sudden it comes at 2.4. The actual index right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is 3.4.
Right.
And so this formula was at 2.4. So you take all those and I reminded them that we're the 26th lowest in the state as far as combined wealth ratio. We have a 0.335, which puts us second in the region is where you don't want to be, which is one of the second combined wealth ratios in the entire area. So it clearly shows we're a high need district, it's a low wealth district, and so those are the things that we're sharing as well. But we've also been very fiscally prudent over the years, and at our future meeting we'll show how our tax cap has fared over the last 10 years, 2014. We'll share that at our future meeting as well to really show how much, what that gap, is and how we've created that partly on the local level as well. So more to follow. Appreciated the budget workshop last week and the update tonight, and then what we'll do is we'll provide further updates at future meetings. And I believe the tax cap resolution will be on the next meeting because it has to be approved for the March 1st submission to the state of New York. Any questions? I would put a commercial out of any opportunity that we have for advocacy and opportunities to educate the public. This is one of those years where Save Harmless is taking a lot of, and I understand it. Any district that lost money is impacted, our children are impacted.
So some of your community members might not know what that means.
So Save Harmless are districts that are fully funded, but in the past they always got, for districts, they would get a 3% increase automatically. Regardless if they were below it, they automatically received a certain amount every year. This year, my understanding is that when the formula was run, the Save Harmless piece was taken out, hence why you're seeing districts around the state, some losing over $1 million compared to what they have in the current school year. So the good news is we went to the positive side. The issue is 4%, and we have a 7% increase, remembering that approximately 70% of our budget comes from New York State. 30% is the local level. So we got 4% right now on the 70%. And that's what we have to remember. There's still 30% of our budget which comes into that local tax share as well. So this is the combination. So once we get those figures and start to look at priorities, we've been meeting with all of the bargaining units as well, and getting feedback just around, or the different departments rather, but we'll also work with the different departments, things like that, as well as the different, coming up with the bargaining units. Just losing the words there. So again, if you go back 4 or 5 years ago, this is what our budgets used to look like. We always had about a 1.2 to 1.5 million dollar gap when we started this process. This is not unheard of for us. The bigger concern we have to do throughout this course of this process is we need to look out 3 to 5 years. The problem is the state of New York doesn't tell us what 3 to 5 years looks like and how they're going to handle that. And this is an off gubernatorial year, so it's a year where you notice that also trend-wise. That's what you see. You see this kind of budget come out, so that's also consistent because the governor's not up for the election as well. Anything else to say? I'm talking about a lot of stuff, but
I think you covered it.
But I think there's some things in the public we need to take note of that we need to make sure we're not lost in this mix of some of the advocacy at the state level is my point. So if there are opportunities to get out there and listen and share, we're going to provide bullet points as we go along as we have and things like that. So you have talking points for our district as well. All right. Any other questions? Next, I believe it's Dr. Lucy again, Operations and Finance.
Yeah, this will be the short-term report on our cash flow, so I'll just review very quickly. This is November and December combined. Rather than go through these figures individually, just show you the cash flow report itself, just to give you an idea where we are. The cash flow is what we anticipate. The lighter orange line is our current ending cash balances per month. It's a little dip there, though that's fairly normal. It depends on when our tax revenues come in and our aid revenue and so on. That can vary a little bit. And you can see the trend is going back up. So our cash flow is solid. We're receiving our revenues as anticipated. That's where we are at this point.
When is our tax collection done?
It's done should be done shortly.
Okay.
I think it's this week, actually, to be honest with you. So.
I want to say
I can type to you.
Is it all?
Please don't.
No, I was just curious.
Yeah.
We have a 6-month window here, September, early September to mid, I think you're right.
I just had someone come in and hand their check in today, so that's why I'm
Yeah, it's very soon. It's about an 80 or 90-day window. Or how many days, math's wrong. It's 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months, which is a long time.
For small cities, yeah.
Okay.
Any questions? I hope not.
And then finally, just a couple of announcements. March 7th to March 9th is our musical, Footloose. Our board representative is participating in that play, or in that musical, so congratulations, Harper. I know you're going to do an outstanding job. Have fun.
Thanks.
And then the other piece we added, it's not on the agenda there, but at your seats this evening, there's information with respect to the solar eclipse. Mrs. Geithner.
Yes. So what you have at your places is this book, Solar Eclipse 2023-24. This is our community read selection for this school year. So with thanks to our librarians and others who helped select this book, and teachers across all disciplines, pre-K through 8, who are planning activities to help our students understand and learn about this once-in-a-lifetime event of the solar eclipse here in central New York, where we are in the path of totality, meaning we are going to have an excellent vantage point reviewing the solar eclipse. So this book will go home with our students this Friday for our elementary school students, and in the weeks to come for our middle school students. Inside you will find this bookmark, which also promotes Total Eclipse of the Park, which is an event sponsored by our Fulton City Special Events Committee. There will be wonderful activities for all members of our community to take advantage of in Recreation Park and along the lakefront, where you'll also be able to view the eclipse. Included with the book when it goes home with our students and in our family communications that we will be doing after February break will be this informational flyer with some fun facts about the eclipse and some resources, and also some important safety tips about viewing the eclipse and making sure you're using appropriate protective eyewear when doing that. So, great learning opportunity. We hope families will sit down and take a look at this together. There's not just good information, but there's also activities that are in this book. Some journaling, some coloring, some crafts that you can make together as a family. So we hope that everyone enjoys, and we look forward to debriefing. And we'll cover more of this at Fulton Family Fun Day on March 16th.
Thank you, Mrs. Geithner. So some great information as historic event is around the corner. And with that, that's the conclusion of the superintendent's report. Thank you.
So we're going to move on to action 4.01, accept the financials. Can somebody move that?
Move it.
Second.
All those in, first I should ask, is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? passes 6-0-0. 4.02, the disposal of surplus property. Somebody please move that.
Move it. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0.
Brenda, before you move on to 4.03, I just have a question for Dr. Lisi.
Okay. 4.03 is accepting donations.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm back on 4.02.
Oh, okay, you want to move that, okay.
Yeah. With the disposal of surplus property, some of this gets sold, right?
Correct, auction, correct.
And some of it gets destroyed because nobody wants it.
Sure.
What line should I be looking at in income
Right, sure.
to show how much we get from this?
We accept that in during miscellaneous income.
Miscellaneous,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know if anybody else would be interested in it, but can you say what percentage of that miscellaneous income is?
It really varies, and it depends on how much we're actually disposing of, but I can get that figure for you, give you an idea of what it would look like on a regular basis. We just started really auctioning off the materials, the larger materials, about 2 to 3 years ago. So I can give you that information for the past 2 to 3 years.
Thank you.
Do that.
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Action 4.03, accept a donation.
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. Action 5.01, approving committee on special education.
Move it. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. Action 5.02, approve the multi-system of supports, the MTSS plan.
Move it. Second.
And then it was done. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. Action 5.03, approving the revised logo.
Move it.
Fallon, second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. Okay, we had a chance to look at the new approved policy. We're going to approve the policies that we looked at the last week. Are there any discussion on any of those policies? Okay, and have somebody move it?
Move it.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. For personnel, I'm wondering if I can, and I'm going to split it up just a little bit here, but can I have someone do action 7.01 to 7.11?
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. 7.12, personnel for coaches. Somebody move it?
Move it.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstaining? Passes 4-1-0. Wait, sorry. 5-1-0. Sorry.
Discussion on that?
Did you want to have a discussion?
No, I'm just asking, before we vote, is there any discussion? We have one person vote no or abstain.
Oh, we're good. We're good? Yep. Okay. All right. Board forum. Let's start with Piper.
Thank you everyone tonight for your presentations on budget. I'm really excited to see what is in store for all the schools next year and the following years after. That's really exciting. Come check out Footloose, it's going to be really good. Thank you.
Mrs. Hutchinson.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to take a couple minutes and really thank Mr. DeJalorme for his oversight of the whole mascot process and the amount of time that you really spent overseeing it with our students. I wanted to thank our students for all of their hard work and dedication that they did the whole process. And Mr. Palvino for really coming into the forefront more than any other school district and really partnering with our students in our community to develop this entire mascot. You really just made them partners with our district, and thank you for that. Mr. Lisi, thank you so much for your presentation about the budget. It really kind of puts in perspective some of the challenges that we face. I just want to encourage our district to be as clear and transparent with our community as possible, make sure we are communicating every step of the way, especially things like in the past, I believe it was the past 2 years where we had a 0% tax increase. This year we certainly face a lot of challenges, and just remind our community that while we certainly will make the tough decisions when it comes to the budget process, we fought to also keep taxes as low as possible whenever possible in the past. And I believe that is it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Connors.
Wasn't ready yet, but
Oh my goodness.
just gotta be ready for the occasion. So I'd like to thank everyone for the presentations tonight. I think the workshops and the conversations we've been having have really helped out to clarify. I think it's important that all of us as board members are understanding as clear as we can what's going on so we can communicate to the public when the public comes with questions. And I want to encourage the community to keep asking questions, because one of our big tenets of Fulton City School District is your voice matters. And so if you have questions, if there are things, we want you to reach out to us through the email. We get those, we read those, we take those into consideration. So we really want you to continue reaching out and helping us so we can be best informed to help create the best environment for our students.
Thank you. Mr. DeNorm.
And you weren't ready. Congratulations to Barbara. I look forward to seeing you in that. Thank you to King and King. I'm glad I got to see some drawings or graphics of what improvements we're paying for. Dr. Lisi, thank you. Okay. Trying to keep that budget on task.
I'll try to remember the tax dates next time, but.
Then that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Pavlova.
Yes, first just want to clarify, I wasn't laughing at John, I was not in my
I
head.
didn't even hear you
So,
laugh.
just don't want anyone to read into that like I was doing it, but, I do want to thank Larry and Trent for coming in and speaking. I had some reservations when it came to the hockey program. I had a good conversation with our athletic director about it, and I think that I just want, if this comes around again, I really truly want everyone to really think about how it affected our Fulton kids. And the financial burden that we put on Fulton to reserve ice and to pay coaches' salaries and uniforms and all that for our kids to not be a part of the program. So that was a concern of mine. So I'm glad that they kind of shed a little bit more light onto that. Winter sports are wrapping up. Again, love seeing the girls wrestling team out there doing awesome things. And yeah, so that's it.
Awesome, thank you. Mrs. Mainville.
I'm really excited for the logo, the mascot, to roll out to our students, and I look forward to seeing pictures and probably seeing videos of their reactions, and I think it's going to be, I think they're going to take it well. I think they're going to take on to it right away. Thank you for the flyer about Footloose. Harper, I have not seen you in a play since Abby, like since the Seussical musical, and you were wonderful. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's going to be great. And that's it.
Thank you. Yes, Footloose, from alumni to you up there on your senior night. Oh my gosh, so exciting for you. Very, very exciting. My son was in Annie with you all those years ago.
Oh, really?
So, yes. That was, you probably don't remember,
I was
but it was
in
a
sixth
very, very
grade.
long, yeah, exactly. You were like, you know, doing your thing and having fun, so that's great. I'm glad that you came back around and are participating in your senior year, or your high school years, because it's such a different experience.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for you, can't wait to see it. I want to thank the business that gave the donation for our school champions donation. That's going very well. I mean, we have a lot of great people being recognized and honored, and I am so proud of what we have going on here.
It's a lot of fun and it's getting a lot of attention.
Yeah,
Very
definitely. And the fact that the community is supporting it by giving us donations to keep this going, it shows me that they are appreciative of our staff here as well. So that makes my heart very happy. You guys have all touched a base on a lot of things. I am really excited about the books that you're sending home. Thank you, Mrs. Geithner, for doing that last minute for us, a little presentation. But this is great that the community has a place to go and there's
Things to do.
Oh my gosh, I mean, this is so much bigger than, I mean, it's like you said, once in a lifetime, but like, you don't think about it until you start to see that we have things in place and that this is a great opportunity, not only for us, but especially for our kids.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that a lot of our classroom teachers are going to be talking about this and doing things with our kids, and this is just such a great learning opportunity, and I'm so excited. I also wanted to bring up one more time, because we have to make sure that we're putting this out. So our city seat for the board out at City BOCES for Fulton is up for re-election. And I know a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a meeting or two ago, I put this out for you guys to take the opportunity to think about it. I did offer, if there was somebody on our sitting board, if any of you are interested in taking out that opportunity, you are more than welcome. However, if it doesn't fit into, I know we're all busy with the committees we're on here and the different things we're doing with our families, and so if it doesn't fit into your schedule, Mr. Cordone has been on the seat out to BOCES for several years, and he has graciously said that he would more than willingly sit on again if we would like to put forth his name to City BOCES. So I know that they have to have this information by the end of February, but if we are ready to move on that tonight, and you guys, either somebody wants to do it or we want to offer it to Mr. Cordone again, I would like to open that up to discussion. What is everybody's thoughts?
I don't want to do it.
I like that is your thought. That is fine.
I don't have anybody interested in, well, myself or anybody I know of.
Okay, perfect. Well, then I say that we put forth Mr. Cordone's name again, and Mrs. Perry, is that something that you would be able to pass on?
We'll give it on the next board meeting as a resolution.
As a resolution. So I will reach out to Mr. Cordone and let him know, and we will go from there next meeting as a vote. All right. With that said, I am going to move on to our second public forum. Anybody interested in joining us? All right. We do not have an executive session this evening, so we are going to move on to action 9.01, adjournment. Somebody move that.
Move it.
Second. Jess and Jen. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Passes 6-0-0. I thank you all for this evening. Have a wonderful night. Thank you. Have a good week, Arthur.